So we're west of Loveland, Colorado, and south of Masonville. And what we're looking at is the Lyons Formation. It's about 250 million years old. And if we look at it, we can see a number of interesting features. One of which is we can see that there's distinct layering. And if we look at the grains in close detail, say with a hand lens, we see that they're mostly quartz and they're rounded grains. And so layering with rounded grains indicates sedimentary rock. And in fact, it's a sandstone, as the grain size is sand-sized. Now, what's most interesting about this outcrop is that we can see that there's actually two different orientations of layering. We see there's a layering that's this orientation here, and it's spaced out, and we see another example of it up here. And then we see layering that's at an angle to it, that runs something like this. And this layering also is somewhat variable in orientation, but it's in general oriented about like this compared to this layering here. And so sand, when it gets deposited, it has to be transported. And in this case, this sand was being transported by wind and actually formed large sand dunes. And so what we see is called cross-bedding. This is cross-bedding, and these are master beds. And master beds are on opposite sides of packages of cross-bedding. And what cross-bedding is the preserved backside of dunes that are downwind. And so in this case, we can look at this cross-bedding, and it's a little bit tricky because we first have to think about the master beds, which are going to be close to subhorizontal when originally deposited. And you can see that they're not close to subhorizontal, right? They're tilted this way a little bit. And that's because they're on the limb of a syncline whose hinge zone is to my back, which is the east. And if we then rotate them back this way, we see that these beds, based on the cross beds, would be tilted down this way, indicating wind flow direction to the west. The Lyons sandstone is a very commonly used building material across the Front Range. And we can see it cladding the outside of buildings. They make up walkways. And so along this ridge, there's a number of quarries extracting this sandstone.